Imagine what your life would look like if you stopped accepting the barriers placed in front of you. Welcome to Limitless Living with Purpose and Joy, the podcast dedicated to discovering the alternatives. Each week, we tackle the 3 hurdles of limitations that get in our way: the external pressures of society, the internal noise of self-doubt, and the physical challenges that try to slow us down. Together, we will uncover the solutions to help us live our best lives. And now, your host, Trace Kingham.
Welcome to Limitless Living with Purpose and Joy. I am Trace Kingham, and today is episode 7, the CEO of your body, flexibility, function, and overcoming those physical hurdles. So today we're diving deep into those physical hurdles. And my guest today is the man who keeps my vessel moving, Tyler Hunt. He's a gifted personal trainer, specializing in neuromuscular re-education and functional strength, especially as we age. And he's crucial to part of my whole entire wellness team. So Tyler, I would like to bring you on and welcome you to Limitless Living with Purpose and Joy. And before we get into this, I would always ask someone this limitless wisdom question. So I want to see if you could give our listeners one immediate piece of limitless wisdom, one simple movement, maybe a stretch or a mind shift set that they can do right now, today, at the second, while they're sitting here listening to you and they're feeling stiff or in pain. What would that be?
Well, thanks for having me on first. The first thing I would say is meditate, pray, or whatever form, or how you feel connected, or however you align yourself, and just ask yourself these 3 questions. The first thing is this pain I'm feeling, or am I really injured? The next question, where do I feel the most tension in my neck, back, or knees? And we could talk about why you want to ask about those 3 parts specifically a little bit later. And how much time are you actually willing to devote to a movement program? And, we'll also get into what those can be.
I love that. Really simple, effective. We talk about that on this podcast quite often, centering yourself, prayer, meditation, whatever that might be for you, but a way to really connect with ourselves, because I believe that the answers are inside of all of us. If we just kind of quiet that noise, take a stop, a moment, listen to what's happening, our bodies can tell us what we need. So I think that's really a great piece of advice that anyone can do right now. And then I love that you called it a movement plan, not like physical fitness and personal training, because that can seem a little over intimidating to some, for maybe if they've never even been in a gym before.
Yeah, I mean, walking counts. Playing with your kids, stuff that you typically wouldn't even think about, like being a part of your exercise regimen. It all counts, and it really comes down to whatever you're really comfortable with.
That's great. So, all right. So let's talk about our work together. Most of the listeners who might have listened to this, but if you're listening for the first time, I broke my back when I was in my early 50s. I had a accident and was working out and found out it was stress fractures from when I was cheering in college, but I just wasn't taking care of myself properly. My spinal health was not good. And my 2 vertebrae in my back collapsed. So I had to get rods in my spine. It's called spinal fusion, for those that might know what that is. And then as I'm trying to stay healthy, I'm riding a bike in my garage during the pandemic, and I tore my labrum, my hip, because as I've learned through you, I put a lot of pressure on that hip joint, and it just, trying to fix one problem, so anyways, I made a little bit of a mess out of myself. But I joke that you have been putting me through Cirque du Soleil exercises. We get a big kick out of that, because the truth is your focus is really on flexibility and function that has eliminated my pain. Now, I explained to anyone listening what I mean by eliminating pain. It's still from time to time there. It's maintenance. It's truly maintenance, that it's going to take a while for my body to recover from my injury. And in some cases, it may never, from what I've been told. But I believe it can. I believe we can heal ourselves. But back to my story here. I was going on a 6-hour, and I was just really worried that I wouldn't be able to make it. Like I would just be in pain and suffering, and then getting out and limping. And it was just, I didn't have any of that, Tyler. I had none of that. I was so excited. Even the next day I was in the car, we went to, it just was, I have been doing amazing, and I do things at home. I do a little bit of, you give me homework. So for those who are, listening, can you give us a little bit of, ideas of, if their injury means that they have to stop moving, or do they kind of need to stay flexible or maybe retrain their mind, that neuromuscular re-education? What do you recommend?
Well, kind of back to the three questions. You're asking yourself, what am I willing to devote to fixing whatever tension or pain? And really, what I would recommend is the neck, back, and knees, because these are three pivotal points of your posture. And
Mhm.
basically, your back is holding you upright, your knees are holding the rest of everything together, and then a lot of times, because we have sit down office type jobs, your neck is being suppressed and you're constantly hunched forward, as I am kind
Right.
of right
I'm
now.
standing my
As I
shoulders up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to stand up because I'm constantly thinking about
yeah,
that.
yeah, and it's a big thing. But after you can truly answer what you're willing to do and what time you're really willing to
Hmm.
commit, the results are limitless. The one recommendation, is keeping the main thing. So like if you want to be more flexible, or you want to get faster, or you want to get stronger, you really it's very helpful to focus in on one thing. Not to say that you can't work on everything else, but like through what we work on, it's very specific and we can kind of
Hmm.
measure and see the results. Now,
Hmm.
one thing that I witness a lot, and this is at jobs or school or just in passing, that I think we've been conditioned as a society to accept pain. And I think
Hmm.
even worse so is we accept being injured and knowing like, okay, I have this nagging thing in my back or in my shoulder or in my neck, and like, but I have to go to work, or I have to get the kids to school, or whatever the case may be. And yeah, you're completely logical in suppressing your pain for other reasons. Financial is probably our top reason, right? But
Right.
I'm here to tell you that the pain's not okay. And you don't have to accept it. And you're a great example of somebody
Hmm.
that has been told time and time again that you're just gonna have to accept this, and it is what it is. And you're living proof. I know people all around me that are living proof that pain is not normal. You shouldn't contend with and always have to deal with it. Um,
Love that. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I was told that, okay, we're going to do some, invasive procedures, maybe try PRP and, all these other things. And then if not, you're going to replace your hip. I mean, I think those are quick fixes that I don't know that we can, because taking care of myself, it's an investment of time. I will say, I spend about an hour and a half in the morning before I start my day walking, exercising, and then walking more. And also every other day I'm stretching with some rubber bands, things that you've taught me, and that's working. I mean, it really is working, and it's exciting, and it keeps me going. It keeps me wanting to get there and
yeah,
keep
that's
going
that's
because I do
that's
not want to be
beautiful.
in pain.
Yeah,
So, well,
that's
let's
beautiful.
yeah, well, tell me a little bit, or let everyone know a little bit about your background. I wanted to kind of share a little bit. How did you get to this space of, I mean, you just, like I say, you've got some amazing things that you're doing with me, and I can only imagine I've heard from other clients as well. So can you share a little bit about yourself?
Um, I was a client. I was had some family and work situations that I kind of got away from working out and running and playing different sports I like basketball and stuff like that. And I'm also a small statured guy. I'm only 5'5". At the time, I was like 140 pounds. And I remember going to LA Fitness right down the road, and grabbing like the bar and loading 25s on it. It was 95 pounds. And I could barely bench it. And I was like, one, I wasn't happy with the way I looked, but then I wasn't happy with how strong I was. I went, got a trainer. I've had a few trainers through LA Fitness, and right around the time before I started actually working for the company, I started studying and getting my certificate. Um, then I started working there. I was a general manager, dealt with operations, pretty much worked every position before I got the privilege of becoming a training director. And then as a director, you have a hypothetically you have a team of trainers, and your
Mm-hmm.
main job is to sit with every new member and try to convince them that they need training.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times it's just trying to give the best workout you can depending on what they're telling you their goals are, and it is with trial and error. But I did that for what was it, about 3-4 years. So I've been working with people overall for about 4 or 5 years now. Been studying the certificate for about 6, and taking other things like TRX and mobility and conditioning and strength. And then probably the biggest thing, and I'll shout out some names. We're like Rose, Jan, TA, a lot of people that have been training for 30 years plus,
Mm-hmm.
interceded in my life, and they taught me about a lot of the fundamentals and the basics that I know a lot of trainers don't get the privilege of learning so
Mm-hmm.
early.
Yeah.
And then truly working for a place like LA Fitness, you know, where I'm at the Armory now, but you truly don't realize like what a gift it is to have any place that can harbor a lot of people. So you see a lot of different shapes and sizes and
Mm.
personalities and goals and stories, and I really think that goes with me in each session.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, shortly after being at LA Fitness, I started working at the Armory, um, owned by a guy named Sean Bailey, who's also an
Mm-hmm.
ND. And I swear, when I first met him, it was like a halo was just glowing off of his head. He's a doctor that he does all the medical stuff, but he also prescribes conditioning and training to people
Yeah.
as ways to fix their overall health condition. And yeah, just honestly learning every day from Hannah. She was a D1 athlete at OSU, and there's a list of even more people that I constantly am privileged to learn from. And then all my clients, you are a client that's near and dear to my heart. I love to talk about Mary, because everyone's different, everyone's story is different.
Yep.
You don't know how much of a privilege it is for you to work with me with your history with the hip and your back troubles. It's taught me and educated me more than a cert or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You bring up a great point while you're sharing your story that I want to make sure everyone hears is, um, it took me a while to find the right fit. It takes there's a little trial and error, and I found you through LA Fitness. And then I also found, I have another individual that I met down in Florida when we lived in Florida a few years ago, who continues to help me through an app that he provides some exercising. So it's a little bit of a team effort, but it took me a few different trainers to figure out the right fit because I could just tell. So what I want everyone who's listening to really understand, you got to listen to your gut. And there were sometimes, they'd have me walking through some exercises. And even though I shared my story, I just felt like that just went through the wayside. They're going to give you an exercise plan that they know that they think works for whoever, and one size does not fit all in this physical fitness that we're talking about here today. I mean, it really is, and that's what I love about working with you and Thean, and it really is this curated plan that's just for you. So, when people are looking for solutions and maybe they, don't have the resources right now to afford personal training, and they turn to some of these quick fixes or these apps or these Instagram stories and they start following someone, what advice would you give them for searching out where they might be able to find ways in which they can improve their physical hurdles that they might be facing?
Well, one thing that really just came to mind, and because we were talking about the beginning of like when I signed up for personal training,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing you'll tell yourself is you can't afford it. And a lot of times, because I started off the same way, but a lot of times what we don't realize, especially if your issue is like you have any fights with obesity or anything like that, a lot of times you're already paying for the habits or the food that's got you to the condition
Oh.
you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times just remapping your finances a little bit. And like I said, once you really identify the time you can invest, the modality, if you want to do strength training or cardio or Pilates, all of it works. You could even go and train to be a fighter and learn how to box or do karate. Uh,
Right.
but once you figure all that out, then you're at a point to where now you can really look at, okay, how do I maneuver my finances to invest? And I think sometimes, especially people with kids or you have other responsibilities, it's okay to be
Hmm.
selfish. It's okay to dream about your dream body and create a plan and a formula and go get it. Now, when you're looking for a personal trainer, there is some magic because like you meet certain people and like I've taken people through great workouts and they're like, yes, that's phenomenal. They're dripping with sweat, but it didn't quite fit their overall plan.
Hmm.
Um, and then other people I've taken through workouts where we're training mobility, and I'm so nervous because there's not a whole lot of sweat and it's not a whole lot of like what I would deem effort. And we check their calorie counter and they're in the fours or their fives surprisingly, and you're
Hmm.
like, wow, this is actually working. And
Yeah.
so to me, it's very akin to like a producer and a musician. It's just one of those relationships that you kind of know. But another thing I would just caution people is like anything that's like 90 days or 6 months or 30 days or whatever,
Mm.
like the human body just doesn't change that way. There's a lot of factors. And it's really not fair to like go from, you're in one routine and now you're learning something completely new and you're expecting your body to finalize the changes in 90 days. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's just over promising, and you got to understand in our industry it can be difficult to get a client. So you a lot of times from a trainer's perspective, they are saying what needs to be said to be powerful and believable, and so you have faith in them. But a lot of times I think it's going to be better served if there's already a connection there. So
Hmm.
you got to ask yourself, if you train with this trainer for 3 months and you don't see results, you still trust them to continue going forward. If the answer is yes, you got to just trust the process and,
Yeah.
and trust that things will work out. If one thing is bothering you and you say it and it doesn't immediately change, or there's not an explanation, or
Hmm.
there's not some type of compromise and understanding, there's plenty of trainers out there.
Yeah. I
And
love
I'm
that.
sure
Yeah.
one will definitely fit your needs.
That's great. Great advice, Tyler. So, yeah, I mean, this has been a journey for me. I mean, I didn't just start working out a year ago. It's been a few years since I've hurt myself. And then, it was about 2.5 years now, maybe almost 3 years since I hurt my hip. So it is a journey. It is not
Yeah.
something that is just a quick fix. I do not take pain medication. I don't take any kind of anti-inflammatories. I am very as clean as I possibly can be when it comes to foods. And so that's a whole nother topic that we'll have you back for to talk about nutrition. But I mean, it goes hand in hand, the working out and the nutrition to really see those results that you might have, like you say, that dream body that you've been looking for. So,
And the sleep.
um, I think that also it's important to share that we only see each other a fraction of the week. I'm maybe maybe an hour and a half. Sometimes you give me a little more time because you have it, and I certainly always appreciate that. So, but I mean, I think the real work happens the other 23 hours that we're not together. So if you want to live limitlessly and, support our bodies outside of the gym, what are the non-negotiables that you preach to your clients when it comes to nurturing that vessel? Like we talked about that nutrition. What should we be focusing on regarding hydration, daily habits? Maybe one little thing that we could think about that the listeners could think about today that they should just maybe avoid or do to help them kind of overcome some inflammation or anything that they might be feeling when it comes to pain or injuries.
This has been a 6 year journey of like keto, carnivore, fruit and veggies, fasting, intermittent fasting. And I'll tell you, the best remedy that I'm learning is sleep. And it's truly it's a epidemic of not sleep, like
Right.
sleepless nights. A
Right.
lot of us are struggling with getting a full 8 hours of sleep. I talk to a
Hmm.
lot of people, and it's very common for people to be sleeping for 2 or 3 hours and then waking up and then falling back
Right.
asleep. Like, if you really want to see results fast, try to get the dark room with the coolness going and whatever you have to
No
give yourself
technology,
to be
no
able to sleep for
TV.
as long as you can. Yeah, no distractions, no gimmicks, no cop outs that like your phone's in your hand, you're on TikTok, you're obviously not trying to sleep. Like
Right.
I'm guilty of it,
Yeah.
but sleep is like the number one thing that I would tell people. Start getting more sleep and your life is going to just
Hmm.
improve and you're going to feel better. And then especially if you start mixing in working out. I mean, when you're working out, you're ripping your muscle fibers.
Right.
Your old cells are dying. When you're healing, new cells are generating. Your body needs sleep to do that.
Mm. Yeah. And the other thing I would add to that, and I think you'll agree, is hydration. Water, 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 water. I drink so much water that maybe it's a lot of
Yeah.
water. And I go to the bathroom a lot, but that's the payoff, I mean, I feel like, and then I
Yeah.
start tapering it off as I get towards the end of the day so I can deny it. So it's a journey. But
Yeah.
well, before we wrap this up, I really want to ask a signature question. One final thought or piece of advice that you might have not already shared, that we could, maybe some small step. Again, I know I asked you at the beginning, but is there anything else that you haven't had a chance to share that you would say folks should listen to when it comes to any topic within this realm of working out and taking care of being the CEO of our body?
Well, just to kind of cap with the investment time, if
Hmm.
you are a person that you have this image of yourself that's not here yet, and you tell yourself, I'm willing to invest whatever it takes. Like I want this bad. I'm ready to invest. I'm ready to go into it full fledged. If you truly stick to that time commitment, your results are
Hmm.
probable.
Yeah.
Like I'm here to tell you, like it's probably going to happen. Now, if you look at it and you say, you know what, it's just not in the cards. I got to get up early. I'm going to the job. I'm leaving the job to get the kids to the babysitter, and then I got to go back to work, clock out, go get the kids, dinner, homework, all the rest of that stuff. So you just don't have it. Then what you got to realize is that your goals, you can still achieve them, but instead of maybe being up on a sharp and steady incline to your
Mm.
goals, it's just going to taper down.
Okay.
And then you can also lower the expectations for yourself and say, like, okay, all
Sure.
I have time is for a 30-minute walk in a quick stretch and maybe a muscle group or two. Or maybe it's you're not even ready to work out yet. And maybe it's just finding that 10, 20 minutes to meditate and picture it and imagine what you want. But to me, the investment in time is the
Yeah.
key. If I mean, we see it all the time in sports, in music. I mean, you're a person that's professionally that you do amazing things for people in organizations, and it's all a huge investment of time.
Right.
So that's the last thing I'll leave off with people. On a personal workout journey myself, it takes time, and
Right.
sometimes if you don't
For
have the
sure.
time, then it's time to readjust your goals and be more realistic.
And that's why I love calling this episode the CEO of your body, because you need to treat your body like you would a business and carve out the time. So, well, Tyler, thank
For
you for
sure.
being here. Thank you for keeping me strong so I can live a limitless life. Where can listeners find you to reach out for training options and learn more, maybe about the Armory or yourself? If they give us your email or handles, or where can they find you?
So where I would go first is you want to go to the Armory. You want to inquire about getting your body composition done and then your movement screenings done. Um, it's a phenomenal facility. You want to get those two baselines down. Let our exercise physiologist. I might be messing that up, but
Physiologist.
she's an exercise
Yeah, yeah,
physiologist.
yeah.
Yeah, she's an expert in working out and movement patterns. You really want to figure out what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, where your body might be holding more fat, and then at that point, there's all kind of resources from physical therapists to trainers to doctors that can help you get back on track.
Sounds great.
And then directly, anybody out there that wants to inquire with me, you can call me or text me directly 24 hours a day. It's 614-620-2428.
Okay. And I'll put that in the show notes. So don't let physical hurdles be your final chapter. Ask questions, trust your gut, find the right team, and keep moving. Your body is capable of amazing things. Trust me, I can vouch for that. So give it the right support. And if you got, get some great takeaways from Tyler today, please subscribe, share this episode, and visit limitlesslivingwithpurposeandjoy.com for more resources. And I'll put the show notes on there so you can get a hold of Tyler. And I'm Trace Kingham. Protect that vessel of your body, and let's live limitless. And I look forward to you joining us on the next episode. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Limitless Living with Purpose and Joy. Subscribe and follow. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Find the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit limitlesslivingwithpurposeandjoy.com for show notes.